Many things Tucker Carlson has said, many things that he said over the past year are correct. They're accurate. I never quarrel with facts. And there's no doubt in my mind that he was not only correct, but he played a crucial role in bringing his understanding of the situation, a significant part of which is correct, in order to bring it before a large audience. I know that, and I don't quarrel with that. The problem is that the way I don't like these terminologies, but I'll use it. The way he frames the issue is never anything that had anything to do historically with the left. And I am a person solidly and firmly of the left. He frames the whole issue as here is this innocent, pure United States that has been tricked, duped, seduced, um, blackmailed, and that's an important aspect of their claim, that's been blackmailed by these Jews in Israel. That's how he frames the question. For the left, Palestine is or was a national liberation struggle. It's a story about oppressed people. It's about imperialism. It's about colonialism. It's about all these sorts of things. I don't particularly like the term settler colonialism because I don't think it's particularly productive intellectually. However, that's the broad framework of the left, and that's how Palestine became an issue of the left, a national liberation struggle, a struggle against imperialism, a struggle, one of the last struggles uh, against European colonialism, akin to the South Africa question. That's how the left frames it. I think the right frames it as basically Jews, wire pullers, international wire pullers, who now control and actually have for a long time, according to these people. They were responsible, they meaning the Jews in Israel, were responsible for the Kennedy assassination. So far, they haven't blamed Lincoln's assassination on Israel. I could see that coming down the pike. They blamed the 2003 war in Iraq on the Jews in Israel. And the bottom line is that the Jewish question, historically, in the hands of the right, has never had a particularly happy outcome. Uh, I'm not saying there haven't been problems on the left, and people are going to say, what about Stalin and what about the doctor's plot and this, that, and the other? Yes, there's true, but historically, uh, Jews as a leftist question they fared very well. The Jews, you take World War II, there was a very strong identity between the international left and the suffering, the martyrdom of the Jewish people. You take a figure like Paul Robeson or W.E.B. Du Bois, they were very close to, they were of the left and they were very close to the Jews. So there was always a sense of commonality of struggle between oppressed peoples, which included at that point in time, referring to World War II, and also the anti-fascist movements before World War II, between Jews and the left. But the right, no. Jews have not fared well on the right.
No, no, fair,
I think everybody can agree on that.
no. Fair enough, Norm. Fair enough. But what I would say is, first of all, I would argue that Tucker is very careful to make a difference, but he doesn't say the Jews. He really doesn't.
Perfectly aware of Tucker Carlson. Uh, I don't know if you're familiar with the TV program Columbo. You know Columbo? I don't know.
Yeah. Of course.
And Tucker Carlson has a Columbo shtick, you might call. He's the simple-minded fellow who doesn't know what he's doing. And he's always asking these silly questions and admitting that he doesn't know what he's talking about. And he says, I might be the simplest guy in the world. And in fact, he knows exactly what he's doing. And eventually, as the fate of Ted Cruz and Mike Huckabee revealed, he goes in for the kill, and he knows exactly what he's doing.
He does. He does.
And,
But
and these with these claims of not really talking about all the Jews, it's sort of like Lady Macbeth protesting too much. He knows exactly what he's doing, and he knows exactly the message he's conveying. And the more he protests that he's not making that message, the more he's clearly making that message. So he says, "Well, I know it was Israel that was behind the 2003 war in Iraq, and there are these people in this country who have a dual loyalty. They have really their loyalty is really to Israel, and they don't care about the United States." And now he says that Israel dragged the U.S. into the war because it wanted to weaken the United States, because Israel wants an alliance with India. Where he came up with that, only God knows, I have to say.
okay.
And Israel and others of his ilk say that Israel was behind the Kennedy assassination. And when I was on with Candace Owens, she said all the so called Holocaust survivors were actually Russian Bolsheviks who killed millions of Christians and then pretended to be survivors of the death camp. Yes, that's literally what she said, word for
No,
word.
but okay.
I,
So
I pretty clear where all of this is coming from, with all of the protests and with all of the caveats and with all of the, as it were, uh, protective language. Now, let me be clear, because I don't want there to be any misconstruing of my part, or misconstruing of what I'm saying. I think a lot of what he says is true. I know that. I have no problem acknowledging. Okay, a lot of it I think is complete craziness. Uh, Israel has as much to do with the Kennedy assassination as my local synagogue, which I never attended, did. I think this is all complete lunacy. Even though people are very emphatic about it, I get so many angry emails, But didn't President, or whatever he called himself, Gaddafi, didn't he say Israel did it? Now Gaddafi's become an authority in the Kennedy assassination. Complete lunacy. But I'll admit a lot of what he says is true. Sometimes I'll even go further than him. I was the first person, I believe, who said that a handful of Jewish billionaire supremacists are crushing academic freedom in our country. And that's a real problem. And we have to call it out. We have to call it out.